Hi, welcome to Salt of the Earth. I'm Veruschka with Gypsy Rose Chariot, and today I'm speaking with a lovely, lovely human being, Judy Jandora, whom I have had the pleasure to meet in the past year online. Judy is an artist and also an amazing tarot reader and an energy worker galore, and I've known her from a very special mission that we're holding space for. And so I'd like to welcome you, Judy. Aloha, and please introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you're up to and how we know each other.
Aloha, it's wonderful to be here with you, Veruschka. Oh my goodness, about myself. I'm a change agent extraordinaire. I am here on this planet to bring in a new way of seeing ourselves and the world, and I'm not alone. I am so well supported and guided and friended, and there's so many people, so many of us that are here to do this, and we're all finding each other. So what I'm seeing is that there are circles all over the place, and these circles go back really far, and you can see how they kind of overlap each other, like the, what is it, the flower of life. Circles overlapping each other and all coming back around. They're all kind of twirling and they're all coming back around, and we're all finding what it is that we came together to do. So basically my life has been really about letting go, about allowing my world to show me what's here now as it is, and to assist other parts of me, other fractals of me, which are all of you, into and through this change, this shift, this evolution of the human species. And a lot of it has to do with how much I like myself and how much I love myself and how much of myself I reject, or how much of myself I honor. And so all of the lessons show up through all of you, and then I find out who I really am and how much I change day to day, how much I allow to change day to day. So like putting myself in any kind of a category and saying I'm this or I'm that just doesn't work very well for me anymore, not even close. And it's such a strange place to be, to not be able to connect yourself to anything or to anyone really. And the beauty of it is that when you really do let go, what I'm noticing for myself anyway, is that when I'm really letting go of attachment and need for things and experience and to be accepted and all of that kind of stuff, is when those things actually flourish in my life. And it feels like such the antithesis. Anyway, I'm going off on all of that, but I wanted to get back to what you were saying earlier, what you were asking earlier, how we know each other. So we came together through another circle, I guess you could call it. I see it as a wagon wheel of sorts, with a central hub and then another hub and then another hub with spokes going out all the way around. And I've been seeing this for years now, but it's as if it's a template of light for something really fabulous, incredible potential for our world. And many of us have been drawn to certain places within this wagon wheel. And you and I have found ourselves on the same one, on the same continent part of the wagon wheel, and it's called Swiss Indo. And it's also you in Swiss Indo and the United Kingdom of God, Sky, Earth. And it's really a new financial system, governance system that is based deep in the heart and multidimensionally, and is meant to bring value back to ourselves, knowing ourselves as a value, and taking the whole system out of, you know, the control system that we had been playing in for some time. So we're in that transition stage right now, and everything is aligning with Indo and with others similar in their own way as well, because freedom wants to be born. It must be born. It is being born. And so that was a probably long explanation to a short question. I hope that worked for you.
No, that's perfect. All right, for some reason, what's coming up for me is to ask you, in light of what's going on here in America, on this earth, on this planet, and withholding the space for that multidimensionality, how are you personally dealing with your own embodiment during these so-called crisis times with the Dakota Access Pipeline, with injustice, these obvious injustices on the scale that it is? I mean, how can something that's being seen by the whole world, being watched by the whole world? I mean, I was just in Australia, and everyone is actively holding that space and praying on parts of the natives. And so in light of that and our elections and people really feeling that their freedom is taken away and I just would love to hear how you're waking up and showing up and going, yes, it's so great to be here.
I love the question, and it makes me giggle, as you can probably tell. And a lot of people are like, are you okay, honey? This is not the time to be giggling, but it actually is, from my point of view. So, and that is because what I'm seeing in all of this, and all of this chaos, I call it chaos because that's really what it is. And I equate chaos with boiling water. So hold that in mind as you listen, because when the heat gets turned up underwater, what happens to it? You know, it shifts its state of beingness into a lighter state. Couldn't happen otherwise, you know. You have no change. You know, you start out with that density that's ice, and then you add a little bit more, and then you got water, a little bit more heat, a little bit more of that light that comes from the sun, and it comes from inside of us. You know, that's passion. You turn more of that up, and you've got all kinds of chaos. You know, the bubbles are going everywhere, and then the steam's finding its way through and out into freedom, you know, like the butterfly becoming a butterfly finally after being, you know, a caterpillar. It takes chaos for that. And it takes us seeing ourselves. So, you know, let's go to Donald Trump, you know, and we'll go ahead and speak the word, speak the name, you know, becoming president. I really didn't do much in the background of all of that because I already know in my mind that what is happening on this planet has already been done in the energetic fields. And it's that we're actually walking it now, and we're walking it from a lot of different angles. And at the same time, each one of us is walking it and experiencing it from our own perspective. We're also starting to feel the collective as the self in a lot of different ways. So what I see with Donald Trump is that he is the guy who, number one, is not connected with the old system, which was definitely steeped in the, you know, the Federal Reserve dollar and the control system and lies, and everything's upside down and ass backwards, or bass backwards, actually. You know, that's kind of how that system is. And I don't think anybody really even has an idea of considering to argue that point anymore. It's just like, yeah, we know that now, right? It's kind of obvious everywhere you go. Every institution is infiltrated with it, and it's kind of overdone. We all know that it's kind of crazy. So everything that's coming up now, including the president that is elected, is a caricature of the distortion of what we created through giving our power away and playing in what we created to be a dualistic system, a system of of us versus them, and dark and light, and all of that. And there's beauty in that, and there's the chaos in that. You know, we came to do it because we wanted to see what it felt like to not be just pure love all the time and already know everything all the time. You know, what is it like to go into a system that has you locked down and you don't know the pure love that you are? And so you get to, you know, bump up against things that are rough and not be able to see the light, and at the same time you're falling in love, and you're having experiences that are visceral and scary, and all, you know, the darkness of the night shows the brightest of the stars, and everywhere you look, the contrast is showing you it's equal and opposite, you know. And I think we played a lot of that out now. I think we probably played almost all of that out on that level. And I think this is the time right now where the darkest of the dark comes up in caricature and the lightest of the light comes up. And each of those, especially the light, what I'm noticing is that people are totally tuning in to their multidimensional self a lot more than ever before. The connectivity is much stronger. The messages coming in are clearer. They're also everywhere you look. So you're getting a lot of confirmation too. If you're tapped in with people on the internet that are in this movement, and there are millions and millions and millions, if not billion of us now, who are on this wave because it's the natural thing. It is how evolution evolves a species, and we're here for that. So, you know, with Donald Trump, I see it's a caricature of how the world sees the United States. The world sees the United States as, you know, kind of overblown, puffed up, you know, kind of crazy hairdo, boisterous, saying stupid stuff, you know, not really coming from the heart so much, all about business. And really, you know, in all of that, not a horrible person, just kind of really that kind of a person. You know, you're seeing the good and the bad in everything, and I think it's incredibly important right now to choose not to be the judge of all of this, and more to choose to be the observer with a bowl of popcorn. Mm-hmm. You know, like doing it like that because it's all written out, and no harm, no foul, truly. Nobody dies, you know, without certain things playing out, we couldn't experience other parts of life. So if we can look at that as though there really isn't any harm and any foul, and as this is all coming to a culmination, we can kind of see the bigger picture a lot better than ever before. And realize that better out than in, you know, better released than held back in. And as we release things, they get shown to the sun, to the light. You know, shadow can't remain shadow in the light. It has to be integrated with the wholeness, which is what's going on inside of us, what's going on outside of us, what's going on every level of how I see creation these days. And then we've got what's going on with Standing Rock, which is fabulous because think about it, the name, Standing Rock. So we are standing up. We are standing in our own power. We're walking towards what scared us all these years. We're actually meeting our fear. We're walking and facing our fear. And we are willing to do whatever is necessary from the heart and the heart only. What a huge, huge determination that is. We bring our hearts to those and we stand there and we say, we know who we are and we know who you are, even if you don't. We'll show you who you are, but we're not going away. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to stop. We're not going to stand down. And so, you know, you got all of these, you know, thousands now of veterans who are coming in from there. And we've got a lot of active duty that are coming there right now. Well, that's not looking so good from the control system standpoint, they're going, whoa, we don't want that. So they come in and they say, oh, okay, we won't make you do that this time. You know, we'll reroute it. And in the meantime, they pass 2 more of the same thing in different areas. Well, we're not going to stand for that, are we? We're going to continue to stand together. We're going to continue to pour in together as one, which we're doing both in physical and in the etheric realms. We're coming together and we're standing strong in who we are. It's what we've been training for quite a while. And on an energetic level, this is kind of blowing the glass ceiling open, and massive change is coming in. I knew it was going to be big, and I knew it was going to be before the end of the year, because we're wrapping up a 9-year, and a series of 9 years wrapping up at the end of this month. Now, I mean, all of it. It's been wrapping up and been wrapping up, and exponentially, it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and all of that is within each day of this. Getting ready to kind of clear the slate to see what the truth is inside of ourselves, so that when we start this new year, this new 1 year or 10 year, we get to start doing some real creation work. You know, we're going from my point of view, we're going from being the fool in the tarot deck, you know, making that huge jump across the chasm, to being the magician and using all of the elements and realizing that we are the elements and the elements are us. And that as we stand in the love that we are, and the power that we are, and the light that we are, united, we already know what it feels like to be divided. Now we're trying to find out what it's like to be united. We unite ourselves with all of this, and then we start in the creation process. Clean up creation all at the same time. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, do you feel like that you're doing enough? Do you ever ask yourself, do you feel like you're doing enough, or that people are doing enough in general? I mean, if the numbers are true that just about less than half of the US population actually voted, like, do you feel like we're doing enough? Like, knowing not that many people can actually physically go to Standing Rock, and knowing that it's December and, you know, we're still at the beginning of winter, and, you know, what all else can go down there. I mean,
see, I see those as 2 very different things, because voting in the election is participating in something that is already corrupt and just wants you to reach in and give you their energy. That is it's a dead system. And most people know that now. A lot of people know that, and people, you know, out of fear will vote. That's my point of view only. So take it with, you know, throw out what doesn't feel right there, but that's how I see it. So I did not do that. I didn't give any of it my energy. It wasn't until I found out that Donald Trump actually won that I giggled again, because I can see the bigger picture. I can see what that means on an overview, looking at it, going, oh, very cool. Now this whole thing with Standing Rock is standing for something. It's when they say it's a protest, and I was shown, because I've never been a protester. I never go against something, because all I do when I do, I've always known this, is that I lend my energy to the dissonance of something, which it doesn't matter whether it's dissonance or pro anything. It gives energy to whatever it is that is not liked. And I've always felt that, so I've never done that. But if it was something where I could stand up and say, this is what I do want, this is what I'll give my energy to, if this is what, so Standing Rock is talking about water is life, land is sacred, beings are sacred. This is what we stand for. We stand for love. We stand together for love. We will do no harm, but we will not step down. We will not sit down. We are this. You are too. Again, it's looking at, you know, the oppressors and saying, you are too, whether you know it or not. And standing for that is so powerful. So I was shown the word protest, and it was pro-attest is what I was shown. So I am pro-attesting to this energy. that is being born through Standing Rock. And I see Standing Rock as being something that will go into the annals of history in a way that many other things will fade away. This is a huge turning point for humanity, for the energetics of humanity, and for the physicality of humanity, and for the upliftment of humanity into the higher realms, in my view.
So what are the things that are, I mean, it sounds like you have such a lighthearted kind of knowing, almost like from an angelic place of like holding that space of all is well. I'm sure it's taken a lot of muscle and conviction for you to take that stance, that is the stronger space that you may lean to. And how do you do it? What knocks you off your feet on the daily then? What are the triggers for you that are more personal, where you don't feel like, oh, it's all light and love and for the best? Like what is testing your personal day-to-day?
Part of me wants to say not much. And another part of me goes, bullshit. Sorry. Wants to call that, but I also feel that part of me that I'm calling that on is kind of hidden behind something here. So, I'm in a place right now where I've been kind of pushed out of a home through my higher self making it happen, and I know how it feels. I mean, I've been in this long enough to know how it feels when Source through me is setting something up and I am to follow it, no matter what it looks like or doesn't look like. And so I've been pushed out of anything called a home for about over 4 years ago, and I've been out traveling. And I have so this is where it comes in. Like, I'm a great tarot. I love tarot. I love using the tarot as a guidance system for other people, and I love what happens in my sessions. It's magic. And it's there for those who are called to that energy, and I know that, but it's not about money for me, except I need the money. So my biggest thing, I think, that throws me off, and I could go on with all the other things that I do, including, my mural arts and making jewelry and all of the other things that I do, cutting hair, face painting. Yeah, I could go on and on and on, but it's the making money from it, allowing myself to be in abundance. Now, here's where I'm finding this. Is that really it, or is it really this? So I've got that whole thing laid out on a platter that says, what am I denying myself that I'm not allowing for a free flow, for me to just be able to do what I want, and to have what I want and need. And I always do. I always have what I need. But to really be able to travel the world and not have to worry about, where's the money coming from, even from day to day. $20 in my banking account is about normal. And it's not even in my bank account because I don't have one of those anymore. There isn't anything to sustain it. But then we've got this other hand that always comes in when I start to ask that question. And it says, well, what if you are here to drain that vortex, that old vortex of what money means, and drain it all down to nothing so that something brand new can be born of it? Would you be willing to stay without the money and the security and the knowing where you're going to be? Like, I'm supposed to be out of where I live right now at the end of this month. And I got a car that's not legal. I got a driver's license that isn't. I got no money in the bank account and not really sure where I'm going at all. And that's not unusual for me. So I already know what that feels like, and I know that I go where I'm supposed to, and I know I end up there, and everything's taken care of, and it's going to be just fine. But then I got this thing, like, all right, come on, can we bring these two together now? Can we be done with this so that finally, you know, the lotus can blossom, and that all of the riches that I am the vessel for as creator's creation, creating creation. Can we marry those two? Can we have that be now? And the question is always asked back to me. I always hear myself ask myself, well, can we? What are you stopping it? Why are you stopping it? What's the holdup? What are you afraid of? Maybe, you know, like Marianne Williamson says, maybe it's my greatness. Maybe it's our greatness. What about you?
That's so interesting that you just said Marianne Williamson, because forever did I have that quote on my first ever website, and I had it Nelson Mandela. And
me too. And I had it on my refrigerator for years.
and
I used to argue with people about who it's from.
Yeah, exactly. And this morning, you know, this weekend I was like, I had a great weekend, and I was like, oh my God, it's so fun being on Instagram again. I had, you know, I'm such an active photographer, and it's always fun to share it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, there's all these people I know that are liking it. And I'm like, oh, this is, wow. If you ever feel down, I'm like, this is a public service announcement. If you ever feel down, get on Instagram. Someone will respond to you, you know, like something, you'll be liked. And I was like, oh, this is such a cheap thrill, you know, it's so great. And funny enough, this morning I wake up after days and days of pouring rain, and I open up in the Instagram messages, and then I just see a new friend follower, and then I see that all this group of clicks, you know, likes her that don't like me. And it was like, it just triggered something subconsciously in the morning that set the tone for my morning again, of this belief of rejection and not belonging, and that I'm really not good enough. And I knew we had this appointment together to chat, and I know that you've been in radio, and I'm like, I am nobody. I am nothing. I have nothing to offer right now. I feel so rejected. And, you know, I went right back to my sort of upbringing in two different households, and, you know, not feeling the phone ringing from the other parent, you know, for a year straight sometimes. And it's just, you know, those building blocks of rejection that we still are popping up at my age, you know, no matter how much work I do on it. It's like that shadow that's just like, boom, totally present. Teary-eyed, and then I'm like, I'm gonna open my Facebook to get a message, and then there again was Nelson Mandela right away, you know. And again, the greatness thing, like if we only knew our greatness or the power we truly have. So again, and that reminded me again of Marianne Williamson, because someone contested that that it was his quote, and then I Googled.
Oh, I love it.
Same information. It's like, I can't talk about shame anymore because it belongs to Brene Brown. I mean, does it matter? Like when we get these universal.
Well, no, it only matters if you believe it matters.
Yeah. So,
you know, and his and hers and is it mine or is it not? You know, it really comes down to, I think a lot of my work is about loving myself through all of this. You know, it's when I feel those feelings. I find myself really going into a center state and just breathing in and kind of holding, like imagining myself at a place where I felt injured. And that being, that part of who I was at that space is what I wrap my heart around, and I sit with her. And I don't talk to her. I don't make her talk. I just sit with her and bathe her in the love that I can conjure up inside of me right now. And then I open myself up to my higher self that I know can conjure up a whole lot more love than than I have been able to so far. And then I open all of that up and just, I kind of get out of my mind about it and just let it be. And really, my biggest thing for myself has been just be easy on yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time. Don't beat yourself up if you got it wrong. So what? That's part of the learning. And then another thing too is, and you probably know this, when you help others, you help yourself. And you find that when you give, many times when you're giving advice to someone through the heart space, the advice you're giving is also the advice you're getting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that all resonates. Everything you shared, I totally have that understanding as, the balm, the soothing balm that, no matter which way you turn it, all of the new age work and personal development that's out there, it just always goes back to the inner child. There's no way around it. And there's no way around that self-empathy and self-compassion, and self-judgment. We are our own worst judge.
We are until we're not. That's why I like to say that the secret to the universe is snot, because actually that's what Gaia told me once in a message. She's like, the secret to the universe is snot, baby. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden it hit me, and I remembered how many times over the past 3 months, just from then before that to about 3 months before that, that people would say to me, well, it's just this way. It's just the way people are, and I'd be like, well, it is until it's not, right? Mm-hmm. Everything is until it's not anymore. And it's not through you, not through somebody else. It's like you decide how you're going to cloak whatever's in front of you, and what we've been doing is we've been using reaction from the old energies, and kind of, when the wind kind of blows by and you've got the situation, your emotions and that fear and that feeling many times will come in and react to it. And that's when you feel out of control, and it's scary. And you don't know how to go back and get control of that. And it's like, oh my God, will I ever not, do this? And I found for myself that how to shift that is by, when that happens, being the observer and saying, oh, so I just did that. Yeah, let me feel that. And I would actually go in and feel that feeling of dis-ease. And it's usually a constricted feeling, and it hurts. It's usually in my throat, and I guess being projectors would probably get it in the throat, and in the heart and all of that, and I really blow it out, and I try to expand that feeling, and I just go in there and I sit with it in my heart and be with it, and then just go on and do something else, because and not go over it and over it and over it, and just remind myself, be gentle. Be gentle on yourself. You're okay. Be gentle on yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, when I do that, I find it really less and less and less and less and less all the time. Because now I can look at some of those situations and go, the person that handed me that situation that I saw in the way that I did, what about them? Who handed them that situation? And who handed them that situation? Were they not to just hurting people because they didn't know what else to do? And then you kind of look at people and you go, people will do the best they can with what they have. The thing is they don't know that. They don't believe that. So they come from where they were hurt. So if you can feel the hurt, if you can heal the hurt inside of you by not making the one who hurt you guilty, and by seeing what it brought for you, how did it actually strengthen you as a being? How did your soul grow because all of a sudden you've made it through that, and you stood in yourself, and you've loved yourself through that. You've loved them through that. You've allowed them to be as they were and allowed yourself to be as you are. Then all of the sting goes out, and all of the tenseness of having to steer it in any certain way lets go. And then this flow just kind of goes, and you just kind of let things flow by. You know, and if it feels, if something comes by and it feels painful, triggering, you look at it, you know, you go, okay, who are you? What is this? Let me feel you. You need a hug. You need to be loved. Come here. What are you? What do you want to tell me? You know, when you start doing that, you start loving your life innocent. You start loving yourself innocent. You start loving others innocent. You start living in a world that's more innocent. That's where the childlike playfulness comes in, because to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must be a little child. You know, and it's not always easy, of course not. But, you know, we're master creators. We didn't come and create this little game that we were going to figure out like this, and it was going to be all easy peasy. You know, that's kindergarten stuff. We're masters at this. We're going to get every ounce of yummy goodness out of this, no matter how it looks to our poor little physical selves. You know, we came to squeeze out every bit of emotion and joy and fear and pain and sorrow and elation and ecstasy and everything in between. That's what physical reality is, and we are the boots on the ground for the whole of, you know, the divine self that we are. Isn't that amazing? It's not like we're the dregs and we came here. We are the best of the best to come here. We're the ones who can do this, or we wouldn't be sent.
Wow, I have to tell you, there's this incredible light that's come in on your screen where you
Oh, wow, I see it.
sharing this beauty, and the light is just coming in, and it's matching up with your painting.
That's so cool. Let's show my painting.
It's so interesting because
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to ask you next. Anyway, excuse me for not responding to everything that you're saying and then moving on, because there's actually so much to respond to every part that you've said, especially about, you know, like the finances and relationship to abundance. But anyway, we're on like a kind of a fast moving train here.
Right.
But to what you just shared, you know, that brings up the question for me of the whole thing between free will and destiny and astrology and predictions. And where do you feel like, you know, if everything, do you believe everything's destined, or do you think it's destined but with nuances of like the little routes of the maze that we choose, but in the end we're still going to get there, that's predestined? I mean, yes, we're all going to die, but you know, what's your take or your relationship to destiny versus being like a free will, completely galactic being?
Excellent question. And it feels to me, because it really, what it does is it gives me the opportunity to bring all of this information in and kind of unfold it for myself sometimes, because sometimes wow, that light is wild. Sometimes I haven't really thought that out so much, but it feels to me as if it has all been done and kind of laid out, but it's the unfoldment of it and the feeling of being inside the self at the unfoldment of it that is kind of the joy of being human. And you can draw it out by making certain decisions or not making certain decisions, or you can speed it up by kind of taking a leap, by not, by deciding that you don't have to go through all the steps, because that's really all it takes for you to make that leap, is deciding that you don't want to go through, or you don't need to go through all the steps, that you get it, and that you can step right into your pure light self and merge with your higher dimensional being, and all of the shadows are gone and all of that kind of stuff, or at least, most of the shadows are gone. It feels like this is a time where we've through our higher selves already laid out the framework for moving through this dimensional gateway. And I see this dimensional gateway, I see a big portion. It's constantly, we're constantly going through gateways as I see it. So it's never ending. It's not like it's all going to be over and, hey, here we are. But there are some, from how I understand it, there are some bigger leaps. And that's what this fifth dimensional, going from third to fifth dimensional reality, moving into that and being able to traverse, because we're still staying in our bodies. So what we're doing is bringing heaven to earth. We've all felt this, and I remember the first time I heard that a couple of years ago. I was like, what? And, what? I thought we were going to like ascend, and then it was like bringing heaven to earth. Oh my God. Yes. And then I felt it. Then I've been in, I've had experiences, some spontaneous and some through plant helpers, where I've experienced being in that elevated dimensional frequency, knowing myself as pure love and knowing all around me is pure love, and in its exquisite state of beingness. And that everything that ever played out to that point was so perfectly laid out. So perfectly laid. And not only that, it was funny. It was so hilarious. It's like we take ourselves so seriously in all of this. And from the higher perspective, I think, the roll on the floor and laughing our asses off is really what's going on a lot of the times. Because it's an adventure. We never die. Nobody ever dies. It's just that we put ourselves into a reality and told ourselves that was the scariest possible thing because there's nothing on the other side of it. Or maybe there's this evil, horrible thing that could happen on the other side of it if we make some of the wrong decisions and don't pay the right people to save our souls. And all of that kind of stuff. We don't play the game right, by so-and-so's ideas of what that means. And now we're coming into a place where all of those rules are kind of like falling apart, and we're finding out who we are without the structures. Who are you without all of the things you've been told you are? And oh my God, that's scary. And oh my God, that's fabulous, because it's all about me. It's all in my own hands. And oh my God, it's all about me, and it's all in my own hands, Oh no. But it's both of those things. It's the paradox. Like, we're in the space where we're really seeing the paradox of everything right now. It is and it isn't. It is and it's not, all at the same time. So, I do actually see that it's all been done. I actually see, too, that we go and we finish, and then we look at it from the already done standpoint, and we go, ooh, I didn't try that. I got to go back and try that. And we come back and we go back through in a different way, and we try it that way. And we've done this. And I really think that what's happening right now is that we're kind of finished even with all of that. And we're collapsing all of the realities into one, kind of going through the eye of the needle. Mm-hmm. I think that's what this whole Mandela effect thing is. I don't know if you've ever looked into the Mandela effect, but it is wild. And, and I think that's what it is. I think that we're all coming in from different realities, and we're actually seeing that my reality is a different reality than your reality, which is a different reality than anybody else's reality. Very similar in some ways, in enough ways that it can be sustained and maneuvered together as a collective. But Can
you speak to that for a moment? Because I don't think it's very widely known. Can you share about the Mandela effect?
Sure, as much as I can. It gets its name from Nelson Mandela, and years ago, I'm not good with dates and all of that, but I think in the 1980s or 90s, a lot of people who are here right now remember Nelson Mandela dying in jail, and then there are lots of others, quite a large population, who remember Nelson Mandela getting out of jail and becoming the president again, and then just dying recently. And I think there are others who believe he's still alive. I'm not really sure about that. So that was what kind of gave it its name. But then people started looking on the internet and started looking into all kinds of different things, and seeing that the reality that they were raised with, and they knew certain things were the way that they were, are not like that anymore. And there are some big things, like our solar system itself, and where Earth was, or where our solar system was in the galaxy, was on an outer band, like way out in here at one point. Now, if you go and look at least last time I looked, it's way up in here. Like, we traversed from way out here to way over here towards the center of the sun, like right in here now, in a couple of years. But then there's also the human skeleton, and the bones in the skull and around the eyes, and the spine is all different than what I remembered. It's bigger, it's thicker. The spine is. The different organs are not how I learned them to be at all. And if you go back and you go, well, they've changed it since then, we know more now, right? Well, if you go back and you look at old writings and drawings of it, all of it's changed. The history has changed. There are movies that are out right now that we grew up with. Okay, so one of them is something as simple as oh goodness, what's the name of it? I can't think of the name of it. There are lots of them, by the way, but one of them is Forrest Gump. And, one of the major lines in that is, life is like a box of chocolates. Now, everybody was saying life is like, there are all kinds of things that were made with life is like a box of chocolates. Well, now if you go back and you look at it, it's life was like a box of chocolates. What kind of sense does that make? Life was like a box of chocolates? When? You know what?
Wow. I never heard of that.
Wow. Yeah, and it's in the movie now. I mean, it's the movie now. From the very beginning, it shows that it was life was like a box of chocolates. Also, build it and they will come. Everybody knew that. Build it and they will come. Now it's build it and he will come. Seriously. Oh, not to mention the Bible verses that are just mind-blowing. They're using words that for things that didn't even exist in the day that the Bible was written. They're using them now. The lion lays down with the lamb. Now it's like the lion lays down with the wolf, or the wolf lays down with the lamb, I think is what it says. There are a million different things, and they're everywhere. There are, product labels, names of products that have changed. There are, oh gosh, it just goes on and on. In fact, the JFK assassination was a huge one, massive. What were you going to say?
So how do you explain this in layman's terms? A glitch in the matrix?
Well, I think it's the matrix is glitching. It is disintegrating. We are moving from a vibrational reality, because reality is vibrational. We are vibrational. Everything that we know of is vibrational. And when you turn up the heat underneath vibratory particles, they dance faster, and they light up, and they become higher resonating. It's like, how we can only see a certain part of the spectrum, the vibrational spectrum. You can't see infrared or ultraviolet unless you have certain glasses or certain kinds of mechanisms, and then you can. Well, what we're doing as the solar system And the galaxy is moving into a different part of, or the solar system is moving into a different part of the galaxy. There's a photon belt that we're moving into now, the huge, massive particles of light that are interacting with us, with the planet, with us inside. It's what all of the, so many of the prophecies were all written about. And so, we're moving into the golden age and the age of Aquarius, and all of these talk about, we're moving into that time, but it's fueled and driven by more light, and more light is information. Light is, the sun is information. It's also heat. It lights things up, but without the shadow and the physicality, the earth, the mother, the acceptor of the light, the dancer of the light, we are the dance of the two. We are the sons and daughters of creation. And it feels to me like what we've done is knowing that we were going to do this, we move into a space of darkness. It seems really, really scary. It's like we're going to the edges of creation where light is meeting the darkness, It's like shining a light of a star, and where the light kind of stops and the darkness begins is where we are. We're at that threshold, and we're moving into that and bringing light into the darkness, creating more light. And that's where creation starts. And as we do that, we create new realities. And so we're in a space where we've got a lot more light coming in, a lot more information coming in, a lot more knowingness coming in, a lot more lightness to who we are, a lot that held us into the density that created the lower frequencies of great contrast like we were living in, cannot sustain themselves in that kind of vibration. They have to move around. That's what the chaos is. And eventually they have to let go and become steam, the frequency of lighter particles. We do. It's what has to happen. Even if we give up this body right now, it doesn't matter, because the minute you give it up, you're already ascended. You're already in your purity, in your wholeness, and deciding what else is going to happen. I mean, it's like we think of being born as like something that's amazing, and that's like, oh my God, here I go again, down into this density. Dying is like being born. That's when you go right back into your fullness and the complete connection with your higher self as your higher self. We had a feedback loop going on for a long time, and most of us are really finished with that now. We're actually moving into another tapestry, if you want to call it, or another template for reality. And we've been creating that new template through our desires, through our passion for knowing what we do want and knowing what we don't want. And we're just really moving through that space right now, from the don't into the do. But you gotta love what you're leaving behind, because if you have any kind of distortion with it, you gotta anchor into it. You gotta let it go and say, thank you for serving me. Played out exactly what you were meant to play out, and I thank you. I've learned so much. I've expanded so much, going through all of that contrast and density and darkness. And every part that played its part for me is one to be honored. And if you can do that, you can really, really let go and allow yourself to become the steam. Move yourself into the more etheric part of reality.
I really, the key word for me just now was honored. And, you're sharing all of this with that smile, with that knowing, with what I call the cosmic smirk, or the galactic, the holy smirk and the galactic smile.
That's cute.
And I know that it's very deceiving, because you know, I can hear and see, you know, the mirroring of my journey and your journey. And when you talk about light and love, I know it's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. You know, I came into this life into a very, very divisive, just upheaval. Some, you know, my parents were very unawake, and together they were just disastrous. And so, and almost all of my young years were, in many ways, very tragic and painful. And, you know, and then I watched my father go through his stuff, my mother go through their stuff. We were never close because there was no love together with them, let alone their children. So we were all fighting each other until, you know, finally we disbanded and stopped trying to kill each other, and people went off and tried, you know, did their thing. And it was easy for me to hold blame for them because that was what the society was uplifting. It was what it was supporting, you know, blame and gossip and, oh, we're better than them because they do that. You know what they're doing over there. You know, I came up I was born in 1960. So, you know, came in Southern Illinois, you know, very Bible Belt area, where that was just the way it was. Nobody knew any different. They just did what they knew how to do, you know. They didn't know that there was any potential for any different that I was aware of anyway. So there was a lot to be forgiven. There was a lot to forgive myself for. There was a lot to release and let go. And my journey has brought me to many, many places that circle back to many of the things that have triggered me along the way to be in resistance to other people, and you know, and always trying to protect my ego, you know, and protect myself, and it's natural to do that. But every single day for me is another opportunity, you know, to make my world heaven on earth. And I'm the only one that can do that. Thoughts do create. You know, we're navigating, we're in our own ships, and we are the navigators, and we are taking ourselves into every experience. We open up a vortex of experience every time we have a thought that has an emotion, push the gas pedal on that to go, okay, this is what I believe about myself right now. And it's like you shoot that out into creation where it pulls all the molecules together and says, okay, here you go. Enjoy. Mm-hmm. We love you. We'll make anything that you wish, anything you decide. If you still need to play in, you know, being other than, or being a victim, or being, you know, well, anything, you are so honored. Of course you may. Of course you may. And there is no judgment in that, ever. And you can take it in. We can all take it anywhere. And we do. You know, and now we're kind of being shown that we really are the ones in the driver's seat, and that every thought we have is the maneuvering thing. So it's funny, you know, you think of, I saw this about 2 or 3 months ago, thinking about light ships. You know, people are like, oh my gosh, that's a mothership. You know, it's a big light ship. And then you hear that these light ships are, they are maneuvered through consciousness, collective consciousness of those on board. That's what I've heard. And then all of a sudden it hit me like, oh, that's what an oversoul is. An oversoul is a mothership. Mm. There's no difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You get that? Isn't that cool?
Uh-huh.
I was like, Oh, wow. All right. So, you know, and different parts of me are out here from that mothership. I'm in this form, but there are other parts of me out here from that mothership, because I am that as well, that are down here playing all these different parts. What if one of them is playing the guy up on Standing Rock who's shooting the bullets?
Mm-hmm.
What is my goal here? Mm-hmm. To bring heaven to earth. Mm-hmm. I must, in my heart, find him innocent.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting part that I've definitely been having a tug of war with. In coming home after being away for a little bit, and to see what's been the whole political drama here. And then I come upon all the Pizzagate and all the child sex trafficking rings, and it just took me down. I mean, it's like, you know, a living nightmare horror story that I can't even handle opening more than like a 1-inch little peek hole to that reality of that being in existence. And it's like, why do I have to feel all of these things? What can I do? And the powerlessness and the pain and the suffering and the fear. And I mean, all of that world, you know, that brought
so what I was shown is that exactly what you're talking about, exactly right now with what's going on. And there's so many things. It's like, oh my God, where do I look? What can I do? You know, what it does, what this time does. And I remember being told this a couple of years ago, or at least a year ago, that there would come a time when so many fingers were being pointed and so many things that were once under the surface are now up out of the surface. Think of a fart. It hurts like hell if you keep it in, right? Not a good thing, but you let it out, and it might stink a little bit for a while, but it feels a lot better. Oh my God, thank you. Sorry about that, but it really does work. This is the same thing. All the distortions from all of the collective are coming up to be seen right now. They are being pushed up from underneath and being brought up to see who still needs to play in them. And if you throw something, if you throw your anchor there and say, oh my God, I've got to deal with that, that's mine, you can carry that around all you want. But you don't have to. If it's not yours, it is someone's, and God bless them, and yes, do bless them. Send blessings. But watch it move on by, because it will. It will. All things will very quickly right now move on by. So many things happening at one time that it becomes pure chaos, even in the mind. And what better way to get out of the mind than to not be able to control it anymore? And what better way for spirit to infiltrate pure light and go than through the chaos? That's what I see. I'm seeing that, you know, this thing called the event. Have you heard of, you know, people speaking of the event?
A bit.
A bit. So
is the event
what I'm getting
about aliens being known, making themselves known, that they've been living among us? Is that the event?
I think the event is actually an influx of light from the central sun through our sun that blasts away many of the remaining veils through our fields, so that as the wind does blow, we spoke of the wind earlier, so that as the wind does blow, you don't have those shadows of a veil where the wind gets caught in the veil and you get blown over. As this light comes, it disintegrates those veils Now, we've been working with them all the way up until now. Otherwise, it would burn us out to have it happen so quickly. We've really been doing a lot of work to get ourselves prepared to be able to handle this. As it blows, it dissolves the veils between the worlds, between the truth, the shadow, and the light. All people at once will be able to see the truth everywhere. And the truth is the love. And the shadow was the story that we've let go. It was part of the old matrix that we're moving from now, where we just are. And the old matrix doesn't serve the new. We're literally moving in. It's not a bad thing. It played out its part. We wanted to come here or we wouldn't have. And so what we're doing now is we're having these kind of two worlds pulled apart. Dolores Cannon talked about that a lot. We're having these two worlds pulled apart, and we're moving into this new matrix, and we're having to let go of everything in between that. And I think this event is going to give us that. And then we will find out that the aliens are just other parts of us on mothership's quote unquote higher self, and other facets of self.
When might this event take place?
I think it takes place when each one of us is ready. And for me, the event will be the whole world having the event, because it comes through me, right? Through you. Your event will happen when you're ready. I'm shown that it's very, very, very soon. This culmination of the 9-year wrapping up, and where we are at the end of 2016 and the beginning of this new is probably a really good place for that to be happening.
That's very soon.
Yes, it is. We've been working our butts off here.
By the way, it just came to me that I'm going to be in your vicinity around New Year's.
Really?
Event. South Carolina, Florida, very close to each other.
Oh, yeah, they are. Cool. Where are you going to South Carolina?
Columbia.
Oh, nice.
Well, I just want to ask a few practical applications around just the event, the ascension, these things that are coming to light within us, and yet, what advice could you give people that are dealing with just the physical drudgery, and how we can have these insights and these knowings, but then feel like completely overtaken by our bodies with fatigue, depression, vibrational matter that's still, unexpressed. How do you deal with them in your life, and what could you recommend? Like, what are some of your go-to practices?
The first thing that wants to come through for that is to really be in consciousness about the actions that you take. Are they born of your own inner desire, your own inner knowingness, or are they born of what others might expect of you, and that would cause too many problems for you to deal with if you didn't just do what somebody else thinks you should? If you're driven by shoulds, and I love to always say this because a really good friend of mine once said it to me, and I still love it, stop shitting on yourself. If you're playing with shoulds, and if you're allowing that to continue, and you're thinking about what your actions are based on what other people expect, it's going to be tough. And it's going to get so strong and powerful for you that you will have to let this go. You're not going to have a choice. It's just going to be how much resistance you're giving to it until it finally pushes you through. You're going to anyway. That's one thing. So really kind of be cognizant of why it is you do what you do. First thing you said is, one of the things that you said was, what happens when your body's just exhausted? You sleep. I sleep. I go lay down, you know, and I allow myself to do what my body asks of me. I have a world and a reality that most people out there would go, oh my God, honey, you really need to do this and you really need to do that and you should be doing that. And you, my God, look at all that you can do. You should be doing this and you should be doing that. Yeah, but I'm not. And there's a reason why I'm not. And even if I don't understand that reason, I know my inner guidance system enough to know when I'm going in the right direction or the wrong direction, because I can feel it. You know, I can feel it in my gut, or I can feel the freedom in my gut that says, yeah, Flo, you got this. And for me, it's been about dropping all of the expectations and really holding a very, very steady, quiet space for a lot of this stuff to blow through, because a lot of people are like all like up in arms and about everything that's going on. So there has to be a balance. So I'm here to be the balance for the really calm state. That's why I've gotten to where I am with all of this stuff. Not that everybody has to in all of this. Everybody is doing what they're supposed to do, the way they're supposed to do it.
Right. I
do trust that all that is happening is exactly as it's supposed to be, and there's nothing wrong in what's going on, no matter how it looks. And if you can sit with that one for a little while and bring it into certain situations that you're in during the day and go, what if this was meant to be? What if exactly that was meant to be? What does it have for me? What am I supposed to see in this? How can I make this innocent? How can I make my life more heaven in this? That's a big one. That's a real big one in using as a tool in your day. Again, it comes back to being easy on yourself, being gentle on yourself. It's really important to do this now. It's really important to treat yourself like your absolute best friend, like your child, like your teenage wild child that wants and needs to be as it is, you know, as anything that it needs to be. If you need to have a fit, and if you need to cry for days, oh my God, please do. Let your body let go and set free all of that energy that wants to come out. It's all happening anyway. Let it come out. Give it wings to fly. Love it free without any kind of judgment. Forget about the judgment. It's not even worth it anymore. You know, let it fly free as is. But also remember that those that you see may be and really truly are other aspects of yourself, maybe even angels playing the devil so that you can have the experience that you came here to have.
Mm-hmm. It can freak you out a little bit because it's almost like everything has the two sides. And if you want to put all your eggs in one basket, like, is it this definitively or is it this definitively? And you go, what if it's this? What if it's this? Would you still feel the same way? And it's kind of like, that's like ultimate trust and courage.
Ah, there you go. So what you're doing is saying, do I believe this or do I believe that? Or what if I'm wrong? And what if I was supposed to fight for that? Is that what you're saying?
The same thing is like that appearing like the devil really being an angel in disguise. I mean, it's
right.
So, you know, it's our labeling of it being good or bad, you know, and if we can change our perception of it, then it diffuses the charge that has over us, you know.
It's the only thing that can ever do that.
Yeah. So it's all about the perception.
It is.
Yeah, and our meaning that we assign on it, and based on our backgrounds and our relationship to those things, it's going to have different symbolic meaning and impact, you know.
Exactly. And the beauty of that, like, I get excited when I hear this because I can see the beauty in that being that you and the 7 billion others out there are bringing a lifetime and many, 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 many lifetimes of experience and knowledge and light to the whole. I mean, we, what we've done through this, the creation, it's like we've created worlds upon worlds upon worlds of new tools to play creator with as we move through into different realities. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have so many other questions, but we are going to have to a little bit wrap up soon. But I'd like to know, what is something that's been the most healing for you personally more recently? Whether it's an insight or a modality, or in what way did it come that you feel like was such great healing for you?
It's all of that. To me, it really does come down to, I think it really comes down to what I've been saying, that it hit me not too long ago that it was up to me to bring heaven to earth. It's what we're doing through Swissendo. It's what that mission is about. It's about bringing heaven to earth. It's about bringing my own knowingness of the divinity that I am. And this is what I'm still struggling with, and I'd love to have a conversation with you about this part of it too. Really knowing myself as the divinity that I am and the worth that I am, and not just feeding it these words and the knowingness, like I know all of this stuff, but it still feels in some ways like pieces of the puzzle that haven't completely clicked in. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm completely that, and I know this completely. I kind of do, but I'm not living it completely, because if I were, the event would have happened.
That's a good measure.
Yes, it is. But we're right on the threshold of that. And, and it's about, and that's what one of, the meeting that we had last night that hopefully you'll go and get the copy of, really talks about who we are. We were born onto this planet with everything to be ours, and then we created this reality that took it all away from us so that we can actually claw our way back in and say, oh my God, this is really who we are. What was that all about? But what that was all about was a play that we created because we wanted to, because we're creators. We're doing this in a billion, trillion, quadrillion different ways, with all kinds of different rules, with all kinds of different realities. We're creators. It's what we do. So holding it as innocent, really, kind of taking the sting away by realizing that there really is beauty in everything and everyone and every thought. And if people knew better, they would do better. And as I be the one I wish to see, the one I wish to see shows up in front of me. And it does all the time. I always speak the same thing. Wherever I go, I'm always running into people who are awake or awakening and really excited to be in conversation with me. Because I love, this is what I do. I have these conversations day in and day out. It's what I'm about. My world has been Facebook, and for you it's Twitter. For me it's Facebook. It's, and I've touched many, many, many realms of different types of people all over the world through that. And it's all been spirit driven, very purely spirit driven mostly, all the way through, which has been brilliant. Living on, giving myself in all of that way, but not making any money and not having, all of that going on has been kind of a funny little conflict thing going on. And then it's like, okay, you want to take it all the way down to nothing? Really? Is that you? Is that what you're doing? Okay, fine. But at least we've got, because I've done that, look what we've got. We've got this Swissendo template that is pure freedom and pure abundance, and coming back into being creators, and everything that we do becomes art. I can see that. I can feel that. I want that. I know it's going to happen. I know it is.
Well, that's the kind of conviction we need, you know, that's magic, right? And that's what I call the sorcery. Sorcery is the magical life of us really living in our embodied empowerment of that unlimitedness, you know? And it's like, can we allow ourselves, can we give ourselves full permission to be connected to source in a way that whatever things we can come up with, we can beam that out with those good intentions as the ripple effect. Like, that's the true sorcery. How are we going to use it, you know? And I would love to end our little session here by requesting, would you like to send out a prayer for our world right now?
Yes. May all beings know themselves in their very, very core as the love that they truly are. May we all know each other and ourselves as the love that we truly are. May we step in more fully each moment and each day to treating ourselves first as the divine. And as we look onto our world, no matter what it is that shows us, that it shows us, may we overlay innocence and purity and joy and release and surrender to all that is, and give incredible thanks and gratitude to the light within all for showing up and dancing with me, with you. So be it.
So it is. Aho. Well, I just want to ask two things. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
I noticed that we're both wearing a moonstone. Can you share with us why this moonstone needs to be near us during this time?
Well, what I'm seeing with the moonstone right now, and I love the moonstone, and because it's subtle. You know, first you look at it and it just looks like a milky stone sometimes, and then you just catches a certain light, and all of a sudden you've got this stunning glint of brilliant blue or rainbow, depending on what kind of moonstone you have. The moon speaks of, it's very much the divine feminine. It's the one who accepts the light. Think about that. The moon accepts the light of the sun and reflects it back onto the planet. It is the great acceptor, it's the V, you know, the energy that comes in and creates new life. It's the darkness, it's what's under the ground when a seed goes in, that accepts the heat of the sun so that the seed can grow towards the light. It's the unknown, and that's where we're always at. And it's, you know, we've made this space of not knowing a space of fear. And, you know, I think all of us are dealing with that right now. Like, oh my gosh, we don't know what's going to happen. Have we really ever? I think we were in a space where it was like, okay, so we can do this today, and we'll do this and this and this and this and this. And we'll just do that all over every single day for the rest of our lives. And a lot of us have gone, no, that's not how we're doing it. But what we do when we do that is that we step into the unknown. Ooh, the wind's blowing. And so that puts us in a space of, do we see the unknown with fear? Or do we feel the energy that fear might be and make it into an excitement of, what does this have for me to offer me? What do I have to offer it? I now get to create my moments in front of me. I now get to create through what I believe and what I feel, and what I project. I am creating my next moments. If I come into this and I meet it with fear and I worry and it takes me down, then I'm going to have more of that until I get tired of it and I finally stand up and I don't want it anymore. And that's really all it's, no harm, no foul, truly. But we can also turn that initial feeling in the gut that would feel like fear into that excited feeling of, okay, so I can breathe in the light and I can breathe it into that space and I can expand that out and decide what I want. What do I want to feel? Because really it all comes down to what do you want to feel? It's not really what it's going to look like or what do I want to create. What is the feeling I want to have? Do I want to feel expanded and free and delighted? Do I want to feel like I'm amongst others who delight in my beingness? And that I delight in theirs and that I'm seeing new things and feeling new things, that feels like excitement. Feels like popcorn excitement. It's like, oh. Mm-hmm. You can create any of that. If you just want to create a peaceful feeling, then feel it inside of your body. Go in there, take everything else that's going on around you and get rid of it for a minute and just go in and feel what it feels like to feel pure peace. Sink into it. You already know it. It's already in existence. Call it in. Feel it. Be with it. Just for one really good, clear second is all you need. That one clear, perfect second is multidimensional and has no time at all. So it's infinite. And then just get up and go do something else. Don't dwell on any of it. Just go move on and find. You will recognize too. You start really recognizing when that comes and there's that realization and recognition of that feeling that you had created before is playing out in a reality in front of you. And it's like, I'm good. Yay, I get it.
That's the delight in that, the synchronistic moments. So I've also noticed the winds of change, how I was thinking wind, and in that moment, it just blew right over you. I mean, synchronicity. I'm thinking it, I see it right there.
I saw it on your face too, and it was beautiful.
Of course, I knew that would come up in our conversation, and here maybe it'll escort us out to close our conversation. What's the wind bringing us?
The wind is bringing us more of what we want. Look, this is the time for us to decide what we do want, right? No more of what we don't. That is what the protests are based on. Old protesting is based on fighting the old system. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work. We all know that now. I think there are enough memes out there and there are enough experience in our lives that it doesn't work to fight the old. What works is decide what you want. Breathe it in, and breathe it out. Imagine it, feel it, and breathe it out into your world. Do ritual. If you like doing ritual, I'm just now learning to do this because I've been on a whole path of no attachment to anything, which is crazy. But now it's like breathe in what you want. This we're bringing into this change. This wind is bringing freedom, true, sustained freedom. But we had to do the work to get here, to know that we deserve it, that it is who we are, and that we could hold it, and that we could stand in the wind without being blown over with all of those shadows and veils. So what we're doing right now is we're loving those veils into their own freedom. We honor them for being there for us. We honor the experiences for being there for us. We release them into the wholeness. We don't banish them into anywhere. We release them into the wholeness. We shine our own light onto the shadow that makes them who they are, so that they too can finally feel the freedom, sustained freedom that they deserve. Nothing is not the light. There is nothing that isn't love. Nothing, anywhere, under any circumstances, except that we believe it so. And we speak it so. Now we speak it not. Now we speak love into all. Every word you say is a spell. Every thought you have to yourself is a spell. Honor yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself.
The hardest thing to do. It's like that.
Until it's not. Sorry. You say that. But you tell it when you say that. It's only hard until it's not anymore, and then it's not.
And then you can move on with that abundance. When that's that with ease, then that's when it can spill over, you know, and that's how then you can share it in whatever way it needs to come out, because, okay, that's done. Now I have this abundance to share. And so, yeah, right. I'm looking forward to the joining in on the event with you.
Yay, me too. Me too. It's going to be perfect. I know we're all in place. You know, I know that it's all here, and it's just a matter of us stepping into this and realizing that everything is until it's not anymore, till it's not, and that all things are love. And if we can remember that, and we can know that within inside of ourselves, and be patient. You know, let's just be patient with ourselves. If it's not here right now, and we don't have it perfect right here, right now, so what?
Yeah, I mean,
it will happen.
Those are definitely the deconditioning terms, is releasing trying to please others, doing things no matter what anyone might think, and staying true to your heart. And also, there's no time. You know, I know that I'm conditioned, like it has to be now or it's going to be too late. The sense of urgency always. And it's always right. Unplugging from the urgency, that taking that extra step of trust and faith to unplug from that urgency. Like there is always tomorrow. It doesn't need to be.
See, many would call that a false matrix.
It's going to be too late. Yeah. And
right.
so that patience takes determination and skill.
It's just reminding yourself over and over and over again. It's like, oh, okay. You know, and again, always, you know, don't go, oh God, I didn't do that. You know, it's like, oh, okay. So we didn't get it that time. All right, that's cool. And you just be with that part of you that didn't get it and just give her a hug. That's all. Just give her a hug. You know, don't like whatever, you know, just really be with her. You know, it's like, you're awesome. Give her, you know, that kind of thing. Give her a hug. And you'll find that it will turn itself around very quickly. And all of a sudden, it'll be rote. It'll just be like, oh, this is what I do. This is just how I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is possible.
Totally.
Well, it's such a delight. You just shared so much love, and I hope that this blasts through the intranets and interwebbings. And
yes, me too. Thank you so much.
Appreciation, and I'm looking forward to this mission totally igniting the world. So excited and honored to be on this mission with you.
Oh, thank you. I am too. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your show and for allowing me to just do whatever it is that I just did.
It looks like it's gotten dark there. Well, big aloha. And I will include your contact information if anyone wants to get in touch with you and have an amazing personal reading or anything like that. So look into
Thank you.
All right. Aloha, Judy.
Aloha. I love you. Thank you.